Greetings, everyone. Sorry, it's been a bit of a time. I was wanting to shift these over to the afternoon, just because, it's getting darker and darker every morning, and I felt like the lighting was all off, and then felt like the online environment got a little too hostile there for a bit, and I just felt like just kind of keeping to myself. But I think we're in a better spot now. It's been kind of a crazy 2 weeks, On other news, and we might hear about it while we're listening to our local GPB station, there is a special election up north of Atlanta right now to fill a seat that was vacated for a Trump nominee. So if you haven't voted, I believe either today or tomorrow is the very last day to do so. So go out and vote. And let's see what the news is saying. Sorry, it might be crinkly. Headed home from work, so let's see.
While an assistant VA and another investigator were in the room without House Lee's attorney present, the judge said he was, quote, astonished by the actions of the state's agents. He ruled the investigation violated the defendant's Fifth Amendment right to remain silent to avoid self-incrimination and his Sixth Amendment right to be represented by an attorney. District Attorney Anita Howard vowed to appeal the judge's ruling and to refer the case to another prosecutor's office if the appeal is unsuccessful. You're listening to All Things Considered on GPB. Find us online at gpb.org/news.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from your part-time controller, specializing in nonprofit accounting and committed to supporting nonprofits with financial management services such as budgeting and forecasting. yptc.com/NPR. From Visit St. Pete Clearwater.
Kind of wish I knew a little bit more about the case that we blocked into right there. I mean, for a judge to say, a person's Fifth Amendment right was violated is, I think, a pretty big deal. It sounds like it was some form of coercion into a plea.
In Washington, President Trump is openly directing the Justice Department to go after his political adversaries.
This is crazy.
In recent days, Trump singled out a New York State official, also a California senator, and a former FBI director as targets for prosecution. That is adding to a sense of unease inside the department. As NPR's Carrie Johnson has been fighting as she tracks this story. Hi, Carrie.
Hey there.
What does President Trump seem to want here?
The president posted on social media that he wants to see justice served. He wrote, quote, "We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility." And he mentioned former FBI Director Jim Comey, New York Attorney General Tish James, and Adam Schiff, the Democratic senator from California, all of them prominent Trump critics. Trump posted a day after the top prosecutor in Virginia left his job under pressure. That federal prosecutor concluded he would not pursue criminal charges that Trump had wanted against Tish James. So Trump's installed a new lawyer, Lindsay Halligan. She has no experience as a prosecutor. Most recently, Trump asked her to remove what he calls improper ideology from the Smithsonian museums.
How are these demands going down to the Justice Department?
Not so well. Traditionally, the DOJ has operated with a measure of independence from the White House. That is not happening now, and people inside Justice are afraid. Stacey Young used to work there. Now she runs a group to help Department of Justice employees called Justice Connection.
This Attorney General sent a memo on day one that made it clear that Justice Department lawyers were the president's lawyers. And we are now seeing how that's playing out and how dangerous it is.
After all, Stacey Young says if the president's willing to fire a prosecutor for not pursuing his enemies, anybody at the Justice Department could get fired. And some lawyers have already quit because they're worried about crossing ethical lines and about how DOJ is being used as a weapon against Trump's enemies. But at the White House today, the press secretary Caroline Leavitt said Trump was understandably frustrated.
It's funny, everything that they accused the last incompetent administration of doing, and what they've kind of always been, accusatory of, even though the Dems are pretty feckless and useless, that, they weaponize the Justice Department to attack these people who have either committed crimes or have just acted, just sketchy enough to warrant, good investigations by the DOJ or state prosecutors, and, a good amount of them led to convictions, we're settling out of court, or not settling out of court, but plea deals, especially right after 2021, or the late events of 2020 and the early events of 2021. And really my point of this is, they said, they were weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing all these state prosecutors. Last I really checked, the only people that the Biden administration really politically punished and politically went after was the thousands of college students that protested a genocide, right? Like that was really Biden's only mark, his only big accomplishment was arresting a bunch of college kids, demanding that we stop selling weapons to kill Palestinian children. Like that was it, And this current administration is actually weaponizing the DOJ.
Google is a financial supporter of NPR.
Federal Judge Ami Mehta's first big ruling in the case came a year ago when he found that Google had a monopoly on internet search. PBS hailed it as a seismic change for the tech industry.
Today's ruling could upend how Americans get their information online and fundamentally change the way the big tech companies operate.
The government sought stiff penalties, including a ban on exclusive deals with device makers for Google to be the default search engine, and divestment from its Chrome browser, a corporate crown jewel. But this month, Meta ruled that Google gets to keep Chrome, and financial deals to make Google the main search engine can happen, just not exclusive ones. The company will also have to share some of its valuable search data with competitors. Some experts see it all as a slap on the wrist.
I think when you look at the package of the remedies all together, they ring hollow.
Alyssa Cooper is an internet policy expert and executive director at the Knight Georgetown Institute.
It doesn't really propose very significant interventions of any kind.
And that, she says, is because the judge tried to balance between reining in Google's search monopoly and letting it compete in the newer field of AI. In his recent ruling, Meta said he was being asked to gaze into a crystal ball, which he said is not exactly a judge's forte. Chatbots like Google's Gemini
just like the Supreme Court
and Perplexity are now nipping at the heels of traditional search. Cooper says the judge seems to see AI as a completely new battlefield that will have its own set of winners and losers.
And so we should trust that the competition that emerges from these new players will take care of the problem that led to bringing this case in the first place.
Some believe the law can't keep up with the times.
No,
Wheeler
absolutely
serves as
not.
chairman of the Federal Communications Commission and President
When you have people who are in their 70s and 80s writing the law, and they're relying on lobbying efforts to, basically write the laws for them, and then they go, wow, that was a real nice donation to my PAC, or wow, that was a really nice donation to my campaign coffers. You know what? I think I'll just take what you wrote and just submit it as a bill by itself, or just put it as an amendment to a spending bill or something, something bigger. Because these geezers in Congress, in the House and in the Senate, who were born before the Korean War, they should not be writing policy. They should not be approving policy because they're living with a mindset before the internet was even like a thing, before mass communication extended beyond a radio set. So need to keep that in mind. So it is part of the reason we do need younger blood in our legislatures, both our state and in our federal legislative bodies, our representative bodies, and we need to have good regulators there as well. Good, cognizant regulators to assist in those efforts. And I think most importantly, we need to get corporate money, corporate lobbying out of politics, because when the people who make the money are the ones writing the bills end up helping those corporations a lot more than they end up helping the people, because the corporation's bottom line is to make as much money off the people, whether through subsidies, through tax breaks, or through crushing working class Americans.
In Georgia, they were there to celebrate the new edition of a songbook called The Sacred Harp. As Laura Atkinson with the Appalachian Mid-South Newsroom reports, the book is central to the old American tradition of shape note singing.
In a church near Atlanta, singers are eagerly cracking open their brand new Sacred Harp songbooks, which they got just minutes ago. Then David Ivey with the Sacred Harp Publishing Company steps up to a podium.
Welcome to this celebration weekend for the debut of the Sacred Harp 2025 edition.
The music inside the book looks unusual. The notes are shapes that correspond with syllables like fa, so, and la. It was popular with Christians in the South during the 1800s because it taught untrained singers to read music. Today, the songs are still sung with no rehearsal, no audience, and no instruments.
This is our long history of groups of singers collaborating to produce our songbook. 176 years.
The last time the songbook was revised was before the internet. The shape note community has changed and grown quite a bit since then.
When Chuck Schumer celebrated his 75th birthday.
Out of nearly 1,200 submissions from all over the world. During a lunch break, singers are so eager to try the new tunes out, a few dozen form an impromptu group outside.
You can kind of feel how electric the air is. Everybody's just so excited.
That's Jose Camacho Sierra. He wrote one of the new tunes in the book. He asked the group if they want to try out his song, named Lowndes, after the county in Georgia where he lives. This will be his first time hearing it in the wild. Camacho Sierra is from a younger crowd that's found shape note singing in recent years. He says the melodramatic lyrics about mortality and sin and the simple yet powerful chords made an easy transition from the music he was used to.
I was in a punk band. I know it's kind of crazy, and that's something that really attracted me to it. I just thought it was very metal. The 1800s metal.
He came for the music, but stayed for the community. It's surprisingly diverse. Hear women with short purple hair sing next to men with long white beards in four-part harmony.
I love the singing, I love the community, and now I get to be part of a, historic legacy, So
That's cool.
I'm quite happy.
That's good.
The first official singing from the new Sacred Harp is about to start.
Sadly, there's not a lot of opportunity to get community, it feels like, these days. So it's really great that these guys and these gals are able to do that. And they're able to do it through music, through remembrance of their own faith, their own, community history, especially here in the Southeast. So I think that's really beautiful. And it's something we all have to kind of work on ourselves, because, it's hard to really care about your neighbor, your fellow man, and fellow woman if you're not connected to them in any way. And I know I struggle with that. I try my best to call my friends from long ago, try and keep up with them. Life just gets in the way. Especially, being a young dad, with a young kid, it can be a handful, and sometimes you just want to lay on the couch and watch a YouTube video, or just go in the backyard and just sit on the porch, just enjoy that. Luckily, my wife and I worked on a really beautiful garden over the last 5 years since the beginning of COVID, so our backyard is quite nice to enjoy. Oh my God! Sorry, that person just pulled out from a U-turn. Oh, that was not fun. But yeah. All right, let's get back to the news. Talk about Palestine. Just a little bit. Oh no, they were just preambling their next story for their morning edition tomorrow. But so check the time. There we go. Yeah. So I think, yeah, we'll call it there for the day. I think that's two very important notes that I got to expound upon. Monopolies and just how our judicial system just feels like they never really do enough to punish corporations. Feels like it's very weak, very feckless. Which goes on to the second point of, when you have out-of-touch people who really don't know what's going on, or you have politicians that are bought and paid for by, billionaire, trillionaire companies, or billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies like Google, can't speak, Facebook, Meta, Lockheed Martin, defense contractors, giant food producers like Purdue down here in Georgia. It really does make a sense when, there's a big problem, a big scandal, something that's harming, everyday working class Americans. Even when these corporations do get, convicted of wrongdoing, it just feels like a slap on the wrist when they have a punishment, right? The only thing that can really make a mark on these companies is mass boycotts, mass divestment, or just really poor management by their own upper crust, their own top brass. Bad CEOs trying to make as much money for themselves. Damn you the workers, damn you the quality of the product. So, but that when the law is written to benefit the corporations, it benefits the corporations. When we get politicians that are for the people, by the people, a real populist person, and not some AstroTurf corporate shill, then you get laws, you get regulations that are by the people for the people, and not by the corporations for the corporations. So, and part of that is, organizing with your own communities, having conversations with your friends, your family, the people close to you, the people you live with, not just within your own house, but within your own cities, within your own neighborhoods, and kind of reminding them that, you and I have a lot more in common with each other than some real estate developer or some stock trader in New York City, or even worse, some tech billionaire that lives in California with 50 houses across both coasts. So keep that in mind at all times. But I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all have a great week. I hope you all had a good weekend. Mine was busy, but overall it was good. So got to practice my archery skills a little bit before hopefully a hunting trip in the next couple of weeks. So all local WMAs, all public, as it should be. Not knocking people with their own land. I'm jealous. That's all that is. That's just jealousy. But yeah, y'all have a good one.